Hello, my name is Jocelyn, and I am one of the social workers here at the Chatham-Kent Community Health Centres. With the ongoing pandemic, it is normal to experience an increase of worry and stress, and so that's why I'm coming to you today. I've created a series of videos to hopefully help support your mental health during this strange time that we're in. I want to specifically talk to you about anxiety today, the function of anxiety, and coping strategies to work through anxious times. There's going to be a 3-part video series, and this is the first part. So before we get into how to know how to work through anxiety, it's helpful to kind of understand what anxiety is and the function of it. So most of us already know what it feels like: butterflies in our stomach, shortness of breath, increased sweating, increased heart rate, maybe tightening in your chest, feeling trapped. Those are just a few of the symptoms that you might experience when you're feeling anxiety. These symptoms happen as a result in our body, such as the digestive system going offline and our nervous system gets turned on. So during anxiety, parts of our brain also actually get shut down as well, such as our prefrontal cortex. This is part of the brain that helps us to think critically, problem solve, be flexible, and our ability to be rational. So often, because this part of our brain shuts off, it can be really difficult to think in that time of how can I work through this, and right away we go into a crisis mode. Because of the symptoms that we're feeling are really uncomfortable, at times it can be scary, and we often label anxiety as a bad emotion. However, like all emotions, anxiety is meant to be felt. Its purpose is to protect us from danger, and it reminds us what's most important to us. So anxiety, the benefit of it is that it does motivate us into action, such as when we have an upcoming test or an interview, and anxiety will push us to prepare and study. So right now during the pandemic, anxiety might keep you diligent with your mask wearing, your hand washing, and your social distancing. In those cases, anxiety is working well for you. When anxiety shows up in your body, we go into the sympathetic state, which is our fight or flight reaction. So fight is when we are making a move towards, and it often can show up as rage, anger, irritation, and frustration. And then flight is making a movement away. So this can show up as panic, fear, worry. Also during this time, our body is releasing 2 different hormones: cortisol, which is the primary stress hormone, and adrenaline, that we obviously feel through those symptoms in our body. The reality is that anxiety, it's uncomfortable, and it becomes unhelpful when it gets in the way or when it causes us to avoid or disengage from our normal daily activities, and we can get stuck in this heightened arousal state. So generally, once a threat has left, anxiety will leave our body naturally as well too. But with this said, right now we're in the middle of a pandemic, and the threat to our safety is unknown, and the dangers of the disease mean that the threat is not leaving, and therefore it'd be really normal for you right now to experience heightened and prolonged anxiety. However, it is likely interfering with your ability to function. Maybe your sleep is interrupted, or your eating habits have changed, or perhaps when you're out in public you feel lightheaded, nauseous, or like you're having a heart attack. So one of the fastest ways that we can work through that sympathetic state of that fight or flight is to access our breathing and start to regulate it. So our breathing is a really strong indicator of how we are feeling. So when we're worried or anxious, our breathing becomes faster and increased. And we're often taking in more air than we are exhaling. So we want to be able to start to level this out a bit more. So making sure that what you're doing, so I'm going to go through a breathing strategy with you. We just want to make sure that our exhale is as long or longer than our inhale to help regulate that. If possible, nostril breathing is far more superior than mouth breathing. So if you're able to access that, do that as well. And just even notice if you can place your one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach, and just making sure that your breathing is going all the way down into your diaphragm and feeling both hands slightly moving as well to know that your breath is reaching all the way down into your body. So one of the easiest coping strategies that I teach is just called box breathing. Simply what it is you inhale for a count of 4, you hold your breath for a count of 4, you exhale for a count of 4, and you hold your breath for a count of 4. So we can go through one round together. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold your breath, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. So depending on the intensity of your anxiety or your panic, you might have to do this anywhere up to 5 minutes or more. I really encourage to practice at least for 30 seconds at a time. Also kind of recall when I was saying earlier that our prefrontal cortex does go offline. We're going to want to make sure that we are practicing that breathing strategy outside of when we're feeling anxious, so that when we are in that anxious state, it's more accessible to us as well. So often they'll say, pair a new coping strategy with something you do every single day. So right now you're washing your hands a lot. While you're washing your hands for that 20 seconds, go through a couple rounds of square breathing so that it becomes a part of your routine, and easily accessible when you are in that anxious state. So I hope that you were able to take something away from this video, and look forward to the next video that I will be posting for more strategies to come. Thanks for listening.